On the 26th of April 2563, approximately 32 years before the making of this report, the UES Orion travelled to the system of Manticor. Upon arrival at the nearby colonial outpost, it was attacked by colonial ships of an unknown allegiance. The Orion put up a valiant fight, facing 3 enemy frigates on its own. It managed to destroy one of the frigates after an initial missile salvo by the enemy. Follow-up attacks that took advantage of its slow weapon cycling, however, resulted in the Orion's engines being separated from the primary hull, and a complete loss of the vessel. It is currently unknown if the factions these hostile ships belong to still exists, but it is likely more will be learned upon examination of the ruins on the surface. Hello and welcome back to Aurora 4X Post Diaspora. Last episode we started our exploration of the universe, discovering the systems of Manticor, Basilisk, Endicott, and San Martin. The last of which turned out to be a big find, with the planet of Medusa being discovered, a super-Earth sitting at 27,000 kilometers in diameter. It needs only a very small push to become a fully habitable planet, just a bit more oxygen, and with its distance so close to Prometheus, it's a fantastic first find for exploration. We got pretty lucky there. The other 2 systems after Manticor, Basilisk and Endicott, were relatively tame, with few planets of some importance in Endicott, and not a single planetary body found in Basilisk, only 4 stars. Survey ships continue to survey these systems, and exploration efforts will continue to expand even further. However, I think that we need to obviously be very cautious considering what's happened with Manticor, the information that we've now gained to light from that, but we have to expand either way. It probably just means we need to start thinking a little bit more about our military forces. But that's going to be for another time. Our military can come when we need it. Right now, our destroyers can handle whatever relatively small issues we have. So, in terms of industry and research, right now we're focusing on trying to get that jump stabilization module up so that we can start to stabilize the jump points. But we do have jump drives on our cargo ships as well as our colony ships. And so we can begin to immediately start colonizing planets in other systems. So if we go over to Manticor and we go over here, we can obviously clearly see that this is a Rune Sea dormant construct. This makes this planet very valuable to us. In terms of colonization, it's not great. It has a very low temperature and it's also not got water. So that would take quite a long time to terraform. However, again, I think it's worth a colony cost to colonize that just because it does have that dormant construct that can be a big research boost, especially when you're playing on a low research rate. That can be absolutely critical. Then we obviously have San Martin, which we talked about in the and San Martin is really good. So we're going to want to obviously colonize San Martin A5, which should have been renamed, but it's fine. I'll have to sort that out. So San Martin A5, we're going to need to colonize, which is Medusa for reference. So the game decided not to save the settings that I inputted. It is basically an ocean world, practically speaking. If we go over to the Galactic map and we head over to distances, it is not that far away. You have to go through the Basilisk system to get to San Martin. So those are the 2 places that I want to get to colonize. So let me have a look at our cargo ships and what we have available to do that with. So we currently have the Alpha Eurogay Group 2 and Group 1 are currently moving freight around. We have 2 more Alpha Eurogays in the shipyard, which we can begin to move around infrastructure. And in terms of colony ships, well, we have the Sirius, but the Sirius is currently unloading onto Aphrodite, so we're going to have to wait on that for a little bit. Once we've got those initial colonists on Aphrodite, we're going to redivert, and I'm going to start colonizing. I'm going to start colonizing Manticor A1 and get people on that planet as soon as possible. The question then becomes, how do we defend the people on the planet? Because right now our only military vessel is the Azaris class destroyers. We have a total of 4 of them, and they do their job just fine. They're expensive. They're 25,000 tons. We can't build any more of them because our shipyards just are not at the capability to do so over at Prometheus. However, we do need to defend the colonies from both a ground force perspective and from a non-ground force perspective. So what we'll need to do is we'll need shipping maintenance facilities for San Martin, for Manticore, to then bring ships over, and we will need to also design some rudimentary ground forces which we can use to guard them with. It may be a thing if we just don't send forces to these planets until at which time we actually have like a proper army going. We could obviously just build infantry divisions or army corps, and I could send them over, and that's probably what we will do. It does depend. So let's go ahead and continue to start incrementing forward. If we have a look again, industrially speaking, this is going fine. This is going fine. Yeah, everything looks to be okay for now. And our research is on the way. So let's head into the 3rd year of the campaign. 2 Lionel-class vessels were built. So those are our spy vessels. Not spy vessels, those are our science vessels. So those will be joining the fleet. So that's the PSN Simoon and the PSN Whirlwind. Both of which we will be detaching. We'll go ahead and send those over to the survey flotilla. And we will then sort out their standing orders. And send those over to, well, if we have a look over at the Galactic map, bring that up, we can turn on unexplored jump points and jump point survey status. So we need to survey San Martin, Endicott, and Manticore. So we've got Simone's orders. There we go. And we're going to send you over to Manticore. We're going to send you over to San Martin and get you surveying as quickly as possible. We are then going to order 2 more of those ships because we're going to need as many of them as we can get our hands on. PSN Squall and PSN Thunderstorm will be the next 2. Okay, and let's continue on forward as they head out. Have we managed to bring colonists to Aphrodite yet? No, we have not. So we're going to continue to just increment up. We are discovering multiple new jump points over in Manticore. We've actually discovered 2 more jump points in Manticore, which is interesting. There's a lot more survey locations to go, so Manticore might have a lot of places. Oh, we found additional. That's very interesting find on San Martin. Let's go over to San Martin now. So this is San Martin A3. There is a ruined settlement on San Martin A3, which is big. Mineral concentration-wise, let me create a colony there for a second so we can go and have a look at that world. 3.5 accessibility total. Has uranium, calcite, corundium, has renderite, has neutronium, has a relatively low colony cost. That's pretty big. There's also ground potential here, and on these 2 worlds. Speaking of which, the first planet, San Martin A1, has a ridiculous amount of minerals. It is obviously a Venusian world, but if we go over to the colony and we have a look, that has 135 million tons of resources, and they have ground potential, which could increase that accessibility, could increase those resources. And so we probably want to start pursuing ground force survey, or not, yeah, ground force survey capability, which we do not currently have access to. Speaking of that access, we also don't currently have xenological capability either. And so that's going to be another priority that I want to get researched. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to redirect research after we get our construction rate to xenoarchaeology. And that'll be in the next year we'll be able to get that done. But yeah, big find actually. And looks like San Martin is going to be a very important system that we're going to need to ensure is both defended, stable, and colonized properly. Okay, looks like the series just freed itself up and did unload those colonists on Aphrodite. So Aphrodite now has a population, which is awesome. Lantern's currently grown to 4 million people. We're growing very, very quickly. Remember, that is the moon of Prometheus. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the Sirius. I'm going to detach these 2 new cargo ships. I'm going to then move them under the Colonial Transport Command. I'm going to have them join up with the Sirius. Yeah, join the fleet. I'm going to rename this to the Extra Prometheus Colonial Establishment Group, and these guys are going to move infrastructure and people to Manticore and to the new colonies elsewhere. Depending on what else we find in San Martin, we may look to even increase that further. But we'll start with this. We're going to begin to load infrastructure from Lionel, load colonists from Lionel, and we're going to take that over to Manticore, and we're going to start colonizing that first planet immediately. We will resupply there. And then we will repeat those cycles, I would say 2 times, I think is fine. So that'll take about 2 years to fully complete those cycles of colonists and infrastructure being moved around. Okay, so we have continuing to we are continuing to survey San Martin. Overall, mineral situation's looking fine still. Can't tell anything else. And yeah, let's continue to increment. Now, where is... Okay, so yeah, here's Manticore. So our colonists are about to come in here, which is great to see. And because we are starting to move colonists over, I think that, yeah, we're going to transport some security forces, so to speak, to the planet to ensure that they are okay. So I'm going to get a... We're going to need to build a security forces, and so I'm going to order construction on Prometheus for... we'll actually go over to here, organizations, very handy tab where you can just build an organization immediately. We're going to build an infantry brigade combat team, and we are going to have that begin construction over on Prometheus. And that will be, we'll use that to defend the colony that we set up here at Manticore. So yeah, first colonists should be arriving here, which is awesome to see. So they just arrived. First 300,000 people leaving the system and have arrived in Manticore on the former ruins of what appears to be a colonial colony. Hopefully the same situation does not befall our brave citizens there. Research into the construction rate 12 completed. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to ground combat. We don't actually have a ground combat scientist, which is really not great. So we're going to go over and go to our scientists. I'm going to go to, I think, missile and kinetics. I'm going to reassign this guy to ground forces. We're then going to put him into work on xenoarchaeology equipment, which will take, again, still quite a bit of time before we get anywhere close there. So we'll put the construction and production scientists keep working as much as we can, because we need the research, we need the mining, and we want to level up these scientists as much as we can, as quickly as possible. Our biggest strengths right now are energy weapons and sensors and fire controls, which is great and all, but it doesn't really help with expansion when that's kind of what we need to focus on at the moment. So the Halcyon, it's like Manticore has finished up being surveyed. We're going to then authorize the exploration of Jump Point 1 in the system. Though I think we need a... I think this ship... We'll send the Halcyon in for a refuel, resupply, and an overhaul. Just because it's about to be there. And I would rather, you know, give it a break. Give it a little bit of a break. So we'll go ahead and do that. Unrest is already rising. Yep, that sounds about right. And Manticore A1 due to overcrowding. Yeah, that's because the support population is actually a lot less. Yeah, I probably should have checked that. So we've actually dropped off a lot more people than we should have. So that's already a bit of a scandal. So once you arrive back on Prometheus, just go to Lionel for me, and I will sort you guys out after that. And the Simoon also needs orders. We will send that into the same system. Remember, we are playing at 25% research rate, which does mean that things are a lot slower to survey. So we kind of have to send multiple ships into these systems at a time to really get the most out of things. Another survey was added, so we can begin to build more survey ships. So again, we're going to build the PSN Snowstorm. Now, we do have this naval shipyard here sitting idle, which we can do things with. Now, the plan for this is we are going to upgrade this to, I think, 7,500 tons. And we are going to use it as a shipyard for system defense ships or light attack crafts, essentially. These ships, which we will be designing at some point, we're going to be using to defend, kind of fill that problem we talked about with new colonies and other systems, and to ensure that they are safe and okay. So that's going to be what we'll do with that shipyard. So we're going to get that building and on the go. Something else that I want to have a look at is how are our civilians doing? Currently, we have 5 ships. They have 160,000 tons, and their wealth is increasing. Their last dividend was on January 4th or January 7th of the 4th year. And yeah, looks like they're doing just fine. And Lantern is doing what I expected it to, which kind of kicks that civilian economy just because it is so close to Prometheus. It's literally right there. It's about the same distance as the Earth's moon. We discovered the system of Zanzibar. Oh, that is very interesting. That is a black hole, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so a really cool thing about black holes, and these are relatively rare, is that they generate a ton of jump points. I'm talking a absolute ton. This has a massive amount of mass, as we can see. It's a very small black hole out though. And it is located, if we go over to the Galactic map and we bring it up, it is located basically right next to us. Which means that if this generates a lot of jump points, this could be the essentially gateway to the entire galaxy. And could have a ton of strategic and logistical importance going forward here. So, very, very interesting. Production of missiles completed. Yeah, we're going to keep ordering those missiles because we're always going to need more of them. So I'm going to order 200 more of them to be constructed. We currently have a stockpile of 500 on the planet. And then I think we'll probably stop around there. The PSN Squall and Thunderstorm just completed. That is beautiful to hear. And again, we're going to get those guys moved up to our survey flotillas. And we're going to have them... We'll probably organize stuff a little bit better. I'll do that probably in between episodes, something like that. And then I think we're going to build 2 more, and I think that's where we're gonna stop construction for now, because we don't really need too many more of these survey ships. I think we're relatively okay where we are. What we do need more of, though, is things like our freighters. So we'll continue to build more Alpha Eurogate class freighters. And yeah, let me go ahead and just sort out the Squall and the Thunderstorm real quick. So I've dispatched the Squall and the Thunderstorm, the PSN Squall and Thunderstorm, to the system Jump Point 3 in the system of Manticor. And they'll be going ahead and handling that. Did we get our ships back from there? No, not yet. So we'll have to wait on that for a little bit. The system of Hancock has been discovered. Okay, let's have a look at it. There are multiple terrestrial planets, 56 asteroids, down to 1.3. It's a G1 type star. It's only 5 years old. Yeah, it's only 5 years old. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's see. Hopefully there's nothing in here, but there definitely could be, considering. So we'll have to hopefully be cautious. The Thunderstorm looks like it's going to be the first one to go into the system and see what there is. I'm incrementing at very slow rates right now. It doesn't look like there's anything in the system, at least that we can see. How much longer until I get those ground forces done to send over to Manticor? That'll be October when we can start to ship those guys out. So our ships finally arrived. So that's the Colonial Establishment Group. So we're going to detach the Sirius from here. And we're going to start loading up infrastructure and shipping that over to the colony as quickly as possible, because I made a mistake and they don't have enough infrastructure right now. So let's start incrementing further. The monsoon has finished. Looks like it finished its overhaul. Yeah, looks like it finished its overhaul. So we're going to go ahead and send the monsoon over to Zanzibar, because again, I'm very interested about Zanzibar because it is, of course, a black hole. And you'll notice that it takes a lot of survey points to survey these survey locations. That is because each server location can potentially lead to a lot of different places, really interestingly. Industrially speaking, Prometheus, yeah, we're just building construction factories right now. We'll build 100 more. Population is doing okay. So we're just going to keep producing those construction factories as much as we can. In terms of Empire resources or Empire mining, so far mining is going well. Most of that is coming over here from Lionel, which we can always start to ship resources over to Prometheus as needed. Because all Lionel's doing with its 100 construction factories is just building infrastructure. On Prometheus, there's going to be a lot of things that I want to be looking at building. I want to be looking at building deep space tracking stations for new colonies, infrastructure, spaceports. I also want to be building more construction factories, research facilities. I want to be building orbital mines so that we can start to mine more comets and more asteroids to continue to fund that construction efforts. But no, yeah, Zanzibar is going to be very, very interesting. So more survey ships we send over there, probably the better. Let's head back over to Hancock and let's see what the situation is. So again, we have in this system 2 comets here, which is nice, but also a terrestrial world that is a nitrogen methane planet, which is an ice sheet. And then we have the most colonizable one, which is a nitrogen methane, pretty cold planet, but has a good eccentric orbit, which means that it is not very variable. Just enough liquid to support life. It would just need oxygen, and then that would be a pretty habitable planet because our temperature ranges are from -9 or 10 degrees to 38 degrees. So that's pretty much right there. Again, the only issue is that methane in the atmosphere, but definitely a good potential planet that we'll be looking at colonizing right there. I'm going to head back over to Zanzibar, and we're going to see what we find here. The tornado looks like it finished up its own overhaul. I'm going to go and send it to Zanzibar and have it help out. Yeah, there we go. We immediately found a new jump point just from a single server location. I imagine every single one of these is also going to be similar in that respect. And in this first kind of episode, we'll get to the mining operation there in a second. But then these first episodes, what we're going to be doing is really kind of establishing ourselves, kind of understanding, okay, where we're going to want our colonies, how many colonies are we going to want, how fast are we going to expand here, and also just kind of get a lay of the land. It's all about exploration, and then we can kind of go into more nitty gritty detail of how all that kind of colonization and all that kind of stuff is going to work out for us. So one of the things that I find really important and how I kind of colonize in Aurora is always kind of colonize every planet I can within the system, at least one planet within the system, because that gives you a refueling station, gives you a place to step off, and also the most important resource is population. And if you can get more and more colonies, that's more population growing, because colonies at smaller sizes grow quicker than bigger colonies at bigger sizes. So as our ships continue to survey the system of Zanzibar, we're going to go and head over to what's happening in our home system, and that is that the civilians have started to mine. This looks like it is a asteroid. And that means we've got our first kind of civilian mining industry going on, which is awesome. So we're going to start buying those minerals, shipping it over. It's some uranium, it's some tritanium and renderite. And then I'm going to get a governor assigned. Governors do work with civilian colonies. So get you assigned up. That'll increase those resources being produced. And if you guys ever wonder, one civilian mining complex is equivalent to 10 automated mines. So it's basically 30 automated mines for free, basically. The housing just finished its overhaul. We're going to go ahead and send that over to Zanzibar as well. Let me go to Manticor. I want to know, when are we getting those resources brought back from the extra Prometheus Colonial Establishment Group? Let's have a look at that. Not yet, because we're still waiting. Oh, they've already done it, looks like. Yeah, it looks like they've already done it. So now the population there is actually self-sufficient. Speaking of, they also do need a governor themselves, so we'll get a governor assigned there. And yeah, we've got a lot of ruins just splattered about around here, which probably tells us quite a bit about what's happening in the universe at this point. And so we're going to need to be very, very cautious of that. Another freighter just completed construction. We're going to order another one as well to be produced. And after this episode, I'm going to do an accounting, and then the next episode we can look at that of all of our resources and where we want to be moving things around. Lantern is now near 7.67 million people, which is fantastic news. And we're about to finish off our construction factories here at Prometheus itself. Research, we're just about to finish up the jump stabilization modules that we can start to then move them into place, which is a big deal, because once that's good to go, we'll be hopefully in a much better position. So they've arrived at Lionel, which is great news. So we are going to now bring in or order them to begin shipping infrastructure. I think we're going to start to move that stuff over to San Martin and get colonists over there as soon as possible, ideally. Our population is already growing massively in a relatively short space of time, and that's going to be because our planet, we have multiple planets, and they start at relatively lower populations, so their growth rates are actually pretty high. So we're definitely going to have enough workforce starting to grow that will be able to kind of get these jobs outfitted a bit better. One of those jobs is the fact that we have somewhere like Centaur right now, which has a 38 million people surplus. And so one thing that I am going to do is I'm going to select that as a source for colonists. All of these planets should be sources of colonists. I don't know why they were not set in that way. But yeah, I think that's pretty damn interesting in the current situation. So far we have found Zanzibar, which is a black hole, which is a big deal. We found System of Hancock, which has resources. Whoa, they just finished surveying that. I need to have a look at that. That's actually really, really big. Let's have a look at the Hancock 2. This is that most closest one's colonization. 5.2 accessibility. Some of these resources, of course, are not great in terms of quantities, but that's 10 million tons of galacite at 0.9. That's 27,000 tons of uridium for enderite. He's got every resource possible on Hancock 2 there. Okay, we are being absolutely spoilt for choice. I think that's where we're going to leave it off. We've got places like Hancock, we've got Manticor, we've got San Martin, we have Zanzibar, which can open the way for us massively. There are a ton of opportunities here, and I think that's going to be a very, very interesting time in this campaign. Depending on where we go to, we're going to need to rapidly increase our construction capability to keep up with colonizing that many places. More importantly, our security. What do you guys think about the current security situation and with what's happened and what we know in the universe? How do you think we should approach it? Because there seems to be a lot of good colonizable planets out there, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of people around, and there seems to be quite a few ruins. Well, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Big thanks to the members, and yeah, you guys have a great one. Goodbye.